I recently left the girls with a dog sitter for the first time whilst we went away for a wedding, and I wrote an 11-page manual. So I thought I'd talk a bit about what's in the manual, everything I've put in there. I did share this on my Instagram and TikTok, and a lot of people said that they've done similar things. A lot of dog sitters said that they appreciate having more information than none. Like even the dog sitter that we use said that she's been and looked after dogs before when she first started out, and people literally gave her no information, and she said she would never do that again. But yeah, I also had some comments saying that 11 pages is a bit too much, and some mean comments, so we won't talk about them. But I thought I'd go through what I wrote in my document in case it helps anyone if you're leaving your dogs. Quite a few people have asked me to share it. I probably won't, but I'll go through the details of what I put in there and go through all the headings and things that I covered. And I do think there's probably more that I could have put in there. I'm sure a lot of people would disagree. There's a lot in there already, but if I had more time, I would have definitely put more in there. So the first thing I covered was safety. So I've got it in front of me, so I'm going to read through it. Probably not the entire thing, but essentially it was things like the girls' vet's details, and then just a number of bullet points. And some of this is just basic pet ownership, but I just had to get it out on paper to make myself kind of feel more comfortable that it's on there. Hopefully she'll read it. And she did, our dog sitter, she's called Alicia, she did say that she read the whole thing, and she was impressed by it. So that was nice that she actually read it. But in terms of safety, the things I covered were just basic things that I do. So things like always making sure that the front garden gate is shut, not leaving the girls unattended in the garden, not letting Lady in the bushes, because if you follow us, you know that Lady recently killed a neighbour's chicken a few months ago. So yeah, what else? Never leave their collars on inside the house or in their crates. And then some things around when they go out for walks. Also, you know, if it's hot, because it was really hot over that weekend, what to do when kind of leaving them alone, making sure the fan's turned on, checking for grass seed, and ticks after walks. What else? Don't leave food unattended. That was more for Lady. Millie's usually not a problem, but just in case, because she can try her luck sometimes. And making sure they've got water in their crates, as it was going to be quite hot that weekend. So, section 2, meal times. That was a full page on meal times. So I just kind of had like an introduction. This is so formal. An introduction which kind of covered like just general information. So I said that usually I ask the girls to sit on their bed in the kitchen when I'm preparing their meals. Once I'm done making their meal or putting them in a bowl, I put their snuds on, and usually I say harness on, so anything that goes over their head, that's the cue that I use. And then I point at the food bowl and say the name to release them to get their food. Don't put the bowls too close together. Like they don't have issues with resource guarding, but I just don't like to put the bowls too close together just in case, so they have a bit more room. And then just little things like, you know, once they're done eating, they like to swap bowls, and then depending on what bowl you use, Lady sometimes likes to carry her bowl into the living room and either sit in her bed or on the sofa. So just so she knew that like it was fine. I'm not bothered by that at all. And then I just broke it down into breakfast and dinner. So give her a range of times. Sam's calling me. Can we just talk about it when you get home, please?
Okay, I'll be home in 10 minutes.
Okay, bye. I can't remember where I got up to now. So breakfast, right. So breakfast, I covered the time range. So I usually feed them between 7 to 8 o'clock. Lady could get a bit restless before meal times. She doesn't like being walked before her breakfast, and you can't really walk her too close to dinner time as well. What else? And then I put a little table for each of the girls, very small table, but and just broke down their supplements that they have in their breakfast and their dinner. So dinner, we feed them between 4:30 and 5:30, sometimes a bit later. And then just covered a bit about treats and snacks. So I made some Beco bones and put them in the freezer, because one of the days our dog sitter was going to be out for quite a few hours. So I just said to give them those bones on that day. And then just things like, you know, I usually give them a treat after they've gotten in their crate, or I feed them kibble just for like some scatter feeding sometimes. or even use it as treats on walks. And then I said to her, if you're eating your meals as well, they're usually really good and they'll lay down. So I said, if you're eating your food and they lay down nicely, or they get in their bed and don't bother you, then you can give them a treat once you're done. And then the next page was around sleep. So headlines were, they need a lot of sleep. They need a lot of sleep. They can sleep up to 10 hours a day. It said, please make sure they get a lot of sleep, otherwise they can be quite ratty. And then I covered morning, mid-morning, lunchtime, afternoon and evening in terms of their sleep schedules. So they both wake up around 6:30, 7 a.m. They like to get on the bed, on our bed, after they get out their crates. And then I just covered a bit around basically when they sleep. I covered about, Lady doesn't really like her morning walks. She'd rather get in bed and cuddle. Millie is fine with morning walks before breakfast. And then in terms of, their routine, like when I'm at home, I work from home a lot. When I'm at home, they just, as soon as I start work, they get under my desk and sleep. And then lunchtime, so if I take one of them out for a walk, the other one stays at home and is in their crate and sleeps. So usually I just alternate them. So if Millie's been out in the morning, Lady will go out lunchtime or after work. Or, Millie could go out at lunch, or Lady could go out at lunch and Millie goes out after work. We don't have like a very rigid schedule. Or sometimes I take them out together. But for the purpose of that weekend that we were away, I asked the dog walker to walk them separately. And then there was one day where they didn't walk. But it was really hot, so yeah, I did say to her, like, if it's too hot, just don't walk them. It's not a problem. So then afternoon, again, they sleep all afternoon. And I did say if you are getting around and getting up and moving a lot, and they are following you around and they're not really sleeping, then you can put them in their crates and they will happily sleep in their crates. And then evening, usually they are done for the day. So once they've had their dinner, they go to sleep, but usually they perk back up once we've had our dinner. So once we're eating, they will be awake, of course, lay down, begging for food, and then they go to sleep. So usually it's about 8 p.m. onwards, and that's kind of their bedtime wheeze as well. So then what else did I add? Once Lady's fallen asleep, she's dead to the world, which is so true. And I did say if she can't settle, then she can go in her crate, but I think they were both fine over that weekend. And then another page on toileting. So I don't know which section we're on, section 3 or 4. Toileting, so just the cue that we use wee-wees, we say wee-wees for wheeze and poos. And then just their toilet schedule, so morning, lunchtime, afternoon and evening. And then I did mention to her that Millie loves going out for a wee when it's dark before we go to bed. So she might sit down and stare at you. But I said she does a tiny wee, but she likes to go out because she wants to sniff the hedgehogs. So she doesn't need to go out, basically. And usually she doesn't do that. She death stares Sam, but if Sam's away for work and it's just me and the girls, she never does it to me. So I think she just likes to go out and have a sniff late at night. And I also mentioned, how long they can hold their bladder for, usually about 5+ hours. That's the maximum. They do about 2 poos a day, but on a long walk, Lady can end up doing multiple poos. And then Lady, I did say Lady usually waits for Millie to do a wee, and she takes her time and does about 50 spins. And she doesn't wee as often as Millie, but does long wheeze. So Lady does less frequent, but long wheeze. Millie is often, little and often, that's Millie and her wheeze. And then I did say always walking out into the garden with them. And to be honest, they do prefer you to go out into the garden with them when they go for wheeze anyway. And then 2 pages on behaviour. So I did a little introduction to the girls and then a bit of a table on different behaviours that they do, and then almost explaining why they do it and a bit of troubleshooting in case it's a problematic thing. So Lady, I did a little intro about Lady. So I said Lady is like a small horse. She will trample all over you, straddle you and give you one little kiss on the face. She loves attention and can sometimes be a bit restless in the day if she's not had enough physical, mental physical or mental stimulation, always overly tired and can't settle. She loves scratches, belly rubs, snuggling in bed and food. She loves finding things at home and on walks, so you need to be the person who hides things for her to find on walks. And actually, I don't think I mentioned, but before we started working with the dog sitter, Alicia, we had a check-in where she met the girls. No, not a check-in, it was like it was like a free kind of meet and greet. And then she came over for 2 check-ins and 2 dog walks. And for the dog walks, I went out with her on the dog walks. So I've had like multiple chances to talk to her and explain a lot about the girls. I think maybe we did 3 check-ins actually. But yeah, I've explained a lot of this to her, and she'd met them like multiple times. But essentially, in terms of that, hiding things for her on walks, a lot of the time, if we don't really do much training on our walks, I'll still take a ball out, and I take a bit of food or kibble with me. And what I meant by that was that if you don't kind of control Lady, or you just leave her and don't really like hide anything for her to find, she will find something. Like she will get herself into trouble, essentially. Not always into trouble, but she likes to hunt for things. Like the other week, I took her out and she picked something up and I was like, oh my God, what is that? She comes over and it was literally like a foam ball, but a tiny piece of the ball. I think I've got a video of it actually. Maybe I'll post that on Instagram or TikTok. But I could see her running around, and then it's like she caught the scent of something, and she just whips back around and then picks this thing up, and I was like, what is that? And it was literally a tiny piece of a ball. So I was like, you need to be that person. Or sometimes, I'll scatter kibble for them on walks, or just throw like one piece of food or a treat and just ask them to find that. And that is enough to keep her engaged, out of trouble. And she's really good now. Like, we've spent so much time working on her retrieving that now when she does find things, she brings them to me, which is amazing. But so yeah, other behaviours, it was like pawing. Lady likes to paw, which again is something that I kind of taught her to do. Taking objects and parading, a bit about that, and what to do and what not to do. Like, don't take things off her, please. Humping, so Lady used to hump quite a lot when we first got her. I think it was just more like stress, and she doesn't do it that often, to be honest, but sometimes if you're under a blanket, she may try and like go after your leg. Really depends, but she doesn't do it that often anymore. But yeah, I find that she does that if she can't settle, so it's just a bit kind of information on what to do if she does do that. And then her ball. So I said, Lady is a reformed ball addict. She gets very excited. Please don't constantly throw balls for her, as her arousal will spike and old behaviours that we've worked hard to overcome will resurface, like demand barking for her ball. And then whining. So when she whines and what that means, Lady doesn't whine probably as much as Millie, but in terms of whining, like, Millie does not whine at home, like, ever. But Lady really depends on what phase she's in. Like, so she was having a phantom pregnancy when our dog sitter was with them, and she was just so like impatient when it came to waiting for food, and she started like whining a little bit there. And then in terms of out on walks, like when she will whine, so I said she can be a little bit whiny outdoors at the start of a walk, but not that often. She's definitely not as bad as Millie outside. And then dog interactions. Lady isn't a huge fan of dogs running up to her. She can sometimes bark at them and try and get them away. I usually walk away with her if a dog runs up to us. And then barking. So Lady barks if someone knocks at the front door, or if a dog is in her face, or if she's really, really overexcited. If we have certain visitors, she can sometimes bark for attention. I think Sam's home. She can sometimes bark for attention, but this usually means she really needs something. Usually a wee or a poo. So that's like Lady when she's desperate and you've not taken note of what she needs, she will then bark. But again, that doesn't really happen often. And then Millie, so Millie's little intro was, Millie's very anxious around new people and can be hesitant to being stroked, especially on her lower back. But Millie is obsessed with Alicia, so that was not a problem. I did say, and to be honest, this was not relevant, but I said if she's nervous around you, just ignore her. Don't stroke her and try not to speak to her. She will soon come around. But that literally did not matter because she was obsessed with Alicia. She will happily sleep all day, and once she's your friend, she will try and snog you and cuddle up to you, which she did all weekend. She just straddled Alicia all weekend and stuck her tongue in her mouth. She spends a lot of time anticipating what's next and will sometimes intensely watch you to see what your next breath or move is, or what the next cue is. Sometimes she makes her own mind up and tries to do what she thinks is right. So that is Millie to a T. Hi, my girls. Ladies, come up with a shoe. And Millie has got one of my best tops. There she is. Sam's come home, so she's grabbed a shoe. And Millie's grabbed my top out of excitement. Very excited. Do you want to come up? I will wait there, and I'm sure you'll jump up when I least expect it. So in terms of Millie's behaviours, this list was not as long as Ladies, but her whining, that was the longest one. Millie doesn't really whine at home or indoors. When you're getting ready for a walk, she can start to get really excited, and if she starts to get whiny, then I finish getting ready and then I sit on the sofa until she calms down. So when I do that, she will literally sometimes fall back asleep. Millie can whine on walks if she's frustrated and wants to get to the park, or if I stand still, or if we sit down for too long in certain places. I work really hard on making sure she's not frustrated. So if she gets like this on a walk, I would suggest turning back and only walking where she seems a lot less frustrated, or making sure she doesn't need a wee, or try not to stop too much on the way to the park, or take some treats and scatter feed a few on the ground or the grass, then carry on. Humping, so Millie will try and hump her larger teddies. She only really does this if she's in season or if she's a little frustrated. I usually put her big teddies away if she does this. And then dog interactions, so do not let Millie interact with any other dogs, especially when she's on lead. She can growl and nip, and off lead she will sometimes go for a bump sniff, but usually she would rather not interact. So barking, I said Millie usually only barks if someone knocks at the door or if she feels really threatened, so not that often. And then we had a couple of pages about on walks. So for their walks, I've just put they usually have 1 to 2 walks a day. Their longer walks are about an hour plus, and we will do some training at the start, and then they have free time to run, sniff or play with me. Their shorter walks is just a lead walk. Please don't throw the ball too much, as they'll just be wired. Their shorter walk, I know I've already said that bit, about 5 ball throws for the entire walk is enough. Leave some time in between the ball throws. And then I just covered what tools, so just a bit around collar lead, harness or slip lead. And I said if they're pulling using slip lead or collar and lead, please use a harness. And then I said if they start pulling on a harness or they seem too excited, just go home. Which they actually were fine. So then I did a schedule for the 4 days of what to do for each of the girls. So there was one rest day, and then I just did a bit of an idea of what their walks look like. Both of them just lay on the floor next to me now. So I went over these walks with her when she came round to walk each of the girls. And I kept this very simple. I didn't want her to do any training with the girls, but I just showed her kind of what we do in terms of healing to the park, the spot that they like to wee in, and then where I expect them to walk up to like nicely, and what to do if they start pulling a little bit, and then how I kind of release them out of their lead. So what else? And then I did just break down, because I showed her this in person, but I was like, if you want to do some retrieving with them, this is what to do. And all I said was like, ask them to sit, throw it, say their name, and then they can bring it back to you. And as long as they don't drop it on the floor, we're all good to go. So I think they were fine. And I did say just do a maximum of 4 retrieves and give them some time in between, because I find that with the girls, it just helps them be engaged. You know, I think even if she didn't do that, they would have been fine, but it was just gave me a bit of peace of mind that if she took a ball with her or a dummy and just did a little bit with them, that they would be like, this is the best thing in the world and you are amazing and I do not want to leave your side. So and then I just told her about kind of when you like release them and tell them, you know, to have a free run around. So we say break or go sniff. And then just a bit of information about the lead walk and how to approach that. And then I had a page and a half on their cues or commands. So this would just help her understand the words that I use to communicate with the girls. Millie, what are you doing? What's up? Okay. So yeah, there was quite a few on there. Made it onto the list because that is my most used word with the girls. And then I also covered whistle commands. So I bought her Alicia a whistle to use with the girls, mainly for recall. I didn't really cover like every whistle command that I used, but I just did recall whistle and stop whistle just in case, because I did show her when we went on a walk together, I did show her like Lady in action. So there was a dog and the owner was throwing a ball, like using a ball launcher, and then Lady ran towards this other dog's ball and I blew the stop whistle and she stopped and then came back to me. So I was just showing her like, this is what you do if you find that either of them is running at something or towards something that you don't want them to run towards. And like birds as well. So that was very short and sweet. And then I covered, I don't know what this even means. The heading was structure / training / quirks. And I said, I'm not expecting you to train them, but there are certain things that we do at home which gives them some structure in the day and is helpful to do or know. So short list of things, but I was like, when you're eating, ask the girls to settle or lie down. They usually lay by your feet. And I just put in brackets, not on the sofa, because Millie likes to, oh my God, you should see Millie right now. This is actually quite funny. I wonder if I can flip my camera around. She's moved, but she was basically lay on her back against the wall and it was quite funny. Anyways, so I said, yeah, not on the sofa, because Millie, whenever I bring food and like sit on the sofa to eat, if I don't sit at the dining table, she jumps on the sofa straight away and just lays on the sofa and is like staring. So I prefer them to sit on the floor. So yeah, not on the sofa. And I said, if either of them try and sniff your plate, just say and settle, because sometimes they try and do that. And then cooking, preparing meals. We have a bed in the kitchen, so I just said ask them to get in their bed. They usually get in their bed without you having to ask, but you can give them a little treat if they do. And then getting ready for bed, so they usually go and lay on our bed and they go straight to their crates when we get ready for bed upstairs. So usually Millie is really good and she'll just go straight to her crate. Lady likes to try her luck and she lays on the bed. But some days they will just both go to their crate, like whilst we're brushing our teeth and getting ready for bed. And then using the bathroom, I said, Millie won't bother you, but Lady can be a pest and push the bathroom door open if you shut it. Lady usually expects to be given an empty toilet roll tube, but you don't really need to give her anything. That's what I said. And then holding objects in displacement. So they both like holding objects when they're super excited, or once you let them out of their crates. I'll put some clean socks and toys in the bedroom so they are able to grab something. They always need to hold something in their mouth. And then grooming, I just covered Millie, because I have to wipe Millie's eyes quite frequently. So I just like wrote down like how to do that. And then Lady had an ear infection whilst we were away, so she needed ear drops twice a day and her ears cleaning in the morning. So I showed her that in person the day before we went on holiday, and that was it. That is it. So in that 11 pages, I did not once cover anything to do with the house, which is bad. The day before we left, I did show her and I was like, just text me if you need anything. In terms of things that I've missed out, I can remember being on holiday and thinking, oh, I didn't mention this or I didn't mention that. But actually, for a 4-day holiday, I think that was more than enough. So yeah, it did go really well. Like, I would happily leave the girls with her again. But let me know if you've written something like this before and what you've included. Or if you haven't and this has been helpful, please let me know. Or if you've watched this and thought you really have lost your mind, then maybe don't let me know, because the last time someone said that on Facebook, it resulted in a very big, long argument. So maybe keep that to yourself. Anyways, I do have more YouTube videos I need to post. I think I say this after every YouTube video that I post, but One that I filmed, which I don't know why I get so like overly critical of the things that I film. I watch them back and I'm like, ugh, I would never post that. But I did film one around car desensitization, and people have asked me this so many times, and I always say, oh yes, I'll post it soon, or I'll edit it this weekend. But I posted something on Instagram and TikTok showing what Lady was like when we first got her. She used to bark in the car when we would get to the park, and Millie used to whine in the car, and Millie still whines sometimes. She's just like, Millie in her training and whatever, like personality traits, everything is just like a roller coaster. So she started whining again a little bit, but I filmed something to show like kind of how I've worked on that and what I did to address it. And Lady is just an angel now. She does not even like make a peep in the car. So I think maybe that will be the next video. So yeah, let me know if you would want me to post that. It might give me a kick up the backside to edit it. But yeah, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys soon. Bye!